Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, KIDDUSHIN Samach Zayin. We are at the Mishnah on Samach Vav Amud Beis, 7 lines off the bottom of the Amud. Says the Mishnah, Kol Mokoim Sheyesh Kiddushin Ve'ein Avera. Your typical marriage. It's a proper Kiddushin, nothing wrong. In this case, Havlad, any child born, Hoylech Achar HaZachar, identifies with the father. Ve'eze Zu, for example, your standard case, Zukehenes, either an Isha from Heikayan family, Levia, or a woman from a Levi family, Yisraelis, an ordinary Israelis woman, that married. Likewise, Shenisu Lekayan, married either a Kayan, Levi, Yisrael. So basically your standard marriage, a Kohen or Levi or Yisrael who married either a Kohenes or a Levi or Yisraelis. And all these, Rashi says, the Pasuk says, you follow the father. L'mishpachoisam, l'beis havaisam kesiv, says Rashi. So the child identifies with the father. Whatever the father is, whether a Kohen, Levi or Yisrael, so is the child. Now, the Mishnah begins with kol, an inclusive language. And then at the end of this narration it says ve'eze zu, for example, which is a limiting expression. So the Gemara will tell us that actually in this Mishnah we have 4 categories. We just learned the first category, first out of 4. In each category we have a kol mokum, which is meant to include other similar situations which aren't necessarily itemized in the Mishnah itself, but if it conforms to this category, it's included and has the same halacha. And then we have ve'eze zu. That's a limiting expression that denotes that there are others that are excluded from this, that although they fit the criterion, but they don't have the same effect, the same result, the same situation. So we have 4 categories, of which we have already learned the first, which is yesh kiddushin, ve'ein avera, a couple who have kiddushin with each other and nothing wrong. In this case, we follow the father. Next category, v'chol mokum sheyesh kiddushin ve'yesh avera. However, if kiddushin can take effect, but there is something wrong with that marriage, in this case, havlad oilech achar hapogim, the child follows the deficient member, deficient one in this couple. For example, ve'eze zu, zu almana, who married Lekayin Gadol, or Grusha V'chalutza married Lekayin Hedid, Mamzeres and Nesina Yisrael, or Bas Yisrael Mamzer Nasin. So in all these, there is an Isser, whether an Isser, a Lav, or a Say, so it's Yesh Avera, but Yesh Kiddushin is still going to take effect, in which case we say the child follows the Pogam. So for instance, if there is a Psul Kahuna going on, Alman Lekayin Gadol, or Grusha V'chalutza Lekayin Hedid, child is Pasul L'Kahuna. In the case of a mamzer and Yisrael interaction, the child will follow the mamzer. Third category, in a case where the couple can't have kiddushin with each other, but there's nothing wrong with her marrying somebody else. For instance, a relative, right? Perfect Israelis, nothing wrong. But this couple is problematic. In this case, we'll say havlad mamzer. Child gets the mamzer label. Ve'ezeh, for example, ze'abo al achas mikol haroyesh. A person interacts as married to any of his relatives, which are usher to him. So technically, this isha can have kiddushin. She's a full-fledged Yisraelis, but the problem is with him. This interaction is a problem, and therefore, any child born from this union is a mamzer. Category number 4, v'chol mishein lo yolav lo yalacherem kiddushin. An isha who can't accept kiddushin from him or from anybody else. She's not a bar kiddushin. Havlad kamois, in this case, any child born from this union identifies strictly with the mother. For example, ve'ezeh zavlad shivcha v'nachros. The person interacts with a maidservant or a non-Jewish woman. So this isha has no kiddushin option at all. In which case we say the child identifies strictly with the mother. And Rashi explains, the Vlad of a Shivcha is really an Eved. So now if he's freed eventually, he's a regular Yisrael. And he can marry a regular Jewish woman. Likewise, son of a Nachrus. He's a guy. And if he converts, he's a full-fledged Yisrael, a ger kosher with no restrictions. So we have 4 categories. Yes, Kiddushin, no Avera, child identifies with the father. Yes, Kiddushin with Avera, child is Pogum. And follows the Pogum of the couple. 3rd category. She has perfect Kiddushin eligibility, but not with him. She's a relative. Child's a Mamzer. 4th category, she has no Kiddushin option whatsoever. A Shefcha, or a Goita, child is likewise going to identify with her. Now the Gemara is going to ask, we seem to give examples and cases, which indicates that, those are the cases that fit the respective criteria and nothing else. These are the cases and none others. Why? Kol Malkim Sheyesh Kiddushin Ve'ein Avera, it's the first category. And we list the standard, Kohen Levi Yisrael marrying a Kehenes Leviah or Yisraelis. Amalei Rabbi Shimon, this was Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. He asked Rabbi Yechanan, Klolahu, the Chol Malkim Sheyesh Kiddushin Ve'ein Avera. Wherever there is Kiddushin and nothing wrong, Havlad Oilech Achar Zocher, child identifies with the father. Isn't it this? Harei Ger, Shnasa Mamzeres. What if a Ger decides to marry Mamzeres, which Rashi says is mutter, according to Shitas Rabbi Yossi, it's a machlekes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's aser because a Mamzer is not allowed to interact with Kahal Hashem, and a Ger is considered Kahal Hashem. But according to Rabbi Yossi, Kahal Gerim Leikra Kohal, this term Kahal does not apply to the Gerim, and therefore a Ger is permissible with a Mamzer. So if we say it's mutter, according to Rabbi Yossi, Ger Shnasam Mamzeres, the Yesh Kiddushin Ve'ein Avera, perfect Kiddushin, nothing wrong. And still we know for a fact that the child, Havlad Hoilech Achar Pogam, the child now identifies with the deficient one amongst the 2 parents, which is the Mamzer, the son, Ger Shnasam Mamzeres. What happens to the child, Havlad Mamzer, Rabbi Yossi? So how can the Mishnah set forth an absolute value? When you have Kiddushin and no Avera, the child is fine. Child follows the father. Here we have a perfect Kiddushin, no Avera. Ger marries Mamzeres, and child is a Mamzer. Does not follow the father. Amalei, so Rabbi Yechanan responds, not a problem. Misavers, Masnisin, Rabbi Yossi. Why do you say the Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi? You're assuming. And the Ger can marry the Mamzeres, so you have a kash. Masnisin, Rabbi Yehuda. The Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar, Ger lo yis Mamzeres. Ger may not marry a Mamzeres. So it fits with the second category. V'yesh Kiddushin, v'yesh Avera. There is Kiddushin, but there is an Avera as well. Category number 2 of the Mishnah. And it fits very well. Child follows whom? The Mamzeres. Havlad Hoilech Achar Pogam. He follows and identifies with the deficient one amongst his 2 parents. Perfect. Question is V'nesnai. So then the Mishnah should list this case amongst those listed in category number 2. Why did we leave it out? We didn't leave it out. Tana, Kol Makam, the Sefer Lasuya. The Mishnah said, Kol, whenever you have category number 2, what's Kol? Including others that were not mentioned in this Mishnah, which is this one. Hiba Yisem, another Pshat could be L'Oil Rabbi Yossi. The Mishnah certainly is following Rabbi Yossi. And that takes us back to the problem. If a Ger may marry a Mamzeres, so we have Kiddushin and no Avera, why does the child in this case follow the mother? You remember in category number 1 we concluded with the words Ezo Izu, for example, so we're limiting it, which indicates to us Lim'ute, that there are other cases that technically conform to the criteria of category number 1, such as this, Gerut Mamzeres, according to Rabbi Yossi, which is mutter, and still, it's an exception. It's limiting. Ezo Izu. Category number 1's principle only applies to those mentioned in the Mishnah and not this one. So we have an exception to the rule. Okay, so the Mishnah did allude to it. There's no kasha. Asks the Gemara. So you mean that those mentioned in the Mishnah are meant to limit? Only these work and none others? Ve'ezo Izu v'suloi? So those mentioned in the Mishnah in category number 1 will follow the Zachar, nothing else. V'suloi, there are no other cases where there is Kiddushin and no Avera, where child follows the Zachar? No, nothing else. Varei, I'll give you a couple examples. Varei Cholol Shenasa Bas Yisrael. A Cholol is a fellow who was born from parents who were improperly involved. This is a Psuli Kahuna. So let's say his father was a Kohen, married a Grusha, he's a Cholol. He married a Bas Yisrael, which is fine. He has Kiddushin in a Bas Yisrael. There's no Avera. Varei Cholol Shenasa Bas Yisrael. There is Kiddushin. Bein Avera, no problem. Category number 1 of the Mishnah, right? Havlad Hoilech Achar Zachar. The child follows the Zachar, which makes the child a Cholol. So basically, why did Mishnah say that we're limiting the list? Category number 1 of the Mishnah only relates to certain cases mentioned in the Mishnah. We have another one right here. Halei Kasha, the answer is like this. It doesn't really conform to category number 1. Could have disturbed Rabbi Yehuda. It's very late. The Mishnah follows this Tana. Rabbi Yehuda, who says, Rashi brings it, B'nais Yisrael mikvah tahara l'chalal. A Jewish girl is like a mikvah for the chalal. Basically, she's matayir her zera, in which case the child born from this father chalal, mother Yisraelis couple is kasha l'kuhuna. It doesn't identify with the father, and therefore it makes sense that it's not included in the list of category number one in the Mishnah, because he follows the mother, not the father. Next question. I'll give you another example. A case where no problem with the Kiddushin. There's Kiddushin, there's no Avera. And the child follows the father. Why wasn't it listed in our Mishnah? Varei Yisrael, Shenasa Chalala, other way around. He's a Yisrael, marries an Isha who was born from Psuli Kahuna, Chalala. The age Kiddushin. And Avera, there's nothing wrong with that Kiddushin. And Avlad Hoilech Achar Zachar, the child follows the father. He's perfectly fine. Tano Kol Mokim Dereish L'Asuye. When the Mishnah began, category number 1, it said Kol Mokim, to allude to another case. This case right here, even though it wasn't mentioned in the Mishnah, but it fits the criteria and it has the same rule. But it's not ahead. So why didn't the Mishnah, itemize it and spell it out? It wouldn't really work so well grammatically. It wouldn't work so well in terms of the lashon of the Mishnah. It wouldn't be smooth in the Mishnah. Why? What should the Mishnah say to include this case of a Yisrael married to a Chalala? It could say like this. Kayhenes. Right, when the Mishnah begins. Category number 1. Yes, Kiddushin, no problem, no Avera. Child follows the father. For instance, here we go. Kayhenes. Ulavi of Yisraelis. V'chalala. Right? Because we want to include this case of Yisrael marrying a Chalala. But then it can't move on to the flip side. So they married whom? Shenisas l'koyin. Oh, Chalala can marry a koyin. At most she can marry, a Levi or Yisrael, but not a koyin. So if we want to make it smooth and package it together, it's not going to work. We're going to say Kehenes, Levi, Yisrael, and add Chalala, who married either Shenisas l'koyin. Red flag. Stop right there. You're not allowed to marry a koyin. Shenisas l'koyin, Levi, Yisrael. Right, that's what you're proposing. How could a Chalala marry a kohen? So it's not going to come out smoothly in the Mishnah. Therefore, the Mishnah did not, put it into the list. It could have said it, but in a roundabout way, and atomized it separately. But the Mishnah wanted to make it a smooth list. These three married these three. Therefore, we left out Chalala. 1 second. There's another example, another case the Mishnah should have mentioned within that first category. We have another example of Yesh Kiddushin ve'ein Avera, and the child follows the Zachar. Mitzri Sheni. Shanosa Mitzri Sheni. We know that only a third generation Egyptian ger can marry into the community. Not a first generation Mitzri Rishon or a second Mitzri Sheni. So what happens if Mitzri Sheni, a man who's a second generation Mitzri, which means his father was in Skyer, so he's not yet able to join the community, but he can marry another mitzvah, right? Shanasa mitzvah rishon, he marries a first generation ger women mitzvahs, but not shlishi. So the question is, what is their child considered? Do we follow the mother? Mother was Rishona, so the child is now Sheni, he has to wait until the next generation to join the community, or do you follow the father, who's already second generation, child is now number 3, can join the community? According to Rabbi Yehuda, that's based on Psukim, the child follows the father, he's now allowed entry. See, here's another example. Yesh Kiddushin, Ein Avera, Vlad follows the Zachar. Why didn't the Mishnah list this case as well? Same Torah says before, Tano, Kol Mokim, the Reish Lasuya. We said Kol Mokim in the first category includes this case as well. Well, Ula Rav Dimi de Amar, Sheni Havi. Now, according to Rav Dimi, who disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda, in this very case, he says, no, the child follows the mother. Mother is a Rishon, now the child is a Sheni. So the question is, one second, there was Kiddushin. There's no Avera here. And the child follows the mother. How does that fit with the Mishnah? Oh, answer is like this. Tana. Remember, at the end of that first category of the Mishnah, it says these words, we're limiting it. Only those cases, those examples in the Mishnah follow this formula that the child follows the Zachar. But there are others that are different. Even though there's Kiddushin, there's no Avera, a child follows the mother. For instance, this case with the Mitzvah and the Mitzvahs. Asks the Gemara, I have another example of yes Kiddushin, no Avera, follows the Zachar, and it's not mentioned in the Mishnah. When it comes to a match between two nations, we're going to see that in Amud Beis. We follow the father, child identifies with the father and is Gairu. If the members of these nations, we're going to see in Amud Beis exactly what this is. So they are in Isgair and they marry each other. The child identifies with the most deficient of his two parents. So there was Kiddushin. There's nothing wrong with them, no Avera. And still the child follows not necessarily the father, but the Pogam. How does that fit with our Mishnah? Tana, Ezo Izu Lemutis. Once again, the Mishnah at the end of that first category says these words, Ezo Izu, for example, such and such, as opposed to other examples, which although would theoretically conform to the criteria of category number 1 of the Mishnah, but the halacha is different. They don't necessarily follow the father. Tana, Ezo Izu Lemutis. Okay, so bottom line, we have full categories in the Mishnah, and we seem to have found other types of cases which either fit with the Mishnah's rules or don't fit, and therefore we had to come up with the Yukim. Kol Makim includes other cases, Eizo Izu excludes similar cases, and gives them a different result than the Mishnah. Now the first example that we cited, the first kasha, was from the ger with the mamzeres, right? And the kasha was, well, let's think. According to Rabbi Yossi, ger is not kol, can marry mamzeres. Kiddushin, yes. Avera, no. And the child follows the mamzeres, the mother. So, we said, okay, it could be Rabbi Yossi speaking. The Mishnah could follow Rabbi Yossi. And yeah, it's an exception to the rule. Eizo Izu. In the first set of cases, the first category, the Mishnah says Eizo Izu. Because there are others that, although would theoretically seem to match, yes, Kiddushin, no Avera, still, it's a different system. That was one approach. Then we have the other option. Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda, who says a ger may not marry mamzeres. So perhaps there is Kiddushin, but there is Avera as well. And then it fits very well. Yes, Kiddushin, yes, Avera, that's category number 2 of the Mishnah. The child follows the Pogum, the Mamzeres. So you have two options. Now the Gemara is going to analyze both options and pit them against each other. Hi, Mai. Let's further analyze that whole discussion. If you go with that approach, Mishnah's Rabbi Yehuda, a ger may not marry a mamzeres, and therefore it fits into category number 2 of the Mishnah. Child's a pogum, so everything will work out very well. all the kol makims in the Mishnah, all the eizoi zuz. We have plenty to include and to exclude. The list works perfectly. Iyamas b'shleima, masnis Rabbi Yehuda, kol makim dereisha, lasuya Yisrael shenasa chalala. Category number 1 of the Mishnah, which begins with kol makim, to include other similar cases. Yes, KIDDUSHIN, no avera. Child follows the father. For example, Yisrael marry a chalala. No problem there. And the child is a kosher Yisrael, like the father. Another thing to include, the case of Rabbi Rachana Rabbi Yechanan with the mitzvah sheni, marrying the mitzvah sheni, perfectly fine. The child identifies with the father, who was a mitzvah sheni. Now the child is a shlishi, perfect. So kol makim includes these cases. What about the words ezoizu at the end of that first category in the Mishnah? That there are others that should fit this criteria, but don't necessarily have the same halacha. So if you work with Rav Dimi's shita, in the case of the mitzvah sheni marrying the mitzvah rishona, that the child follows the mother. So ezoizu is coming to spit this out, to exclude this from the Mishnah. Even though there's KIDDUSHIN with no avera, a child follows the mother. V'ravin, that's the halacha we just said a minute ago with the umais. We're going to see that. We're going to explain it later. So they have the umais. So we say again, there's a KIDDUSHIN, there's no avera. Child follows the pogam. So again, the Mishnah is sort of excluding it from category number 1. Even though there's KIDDUSHIN, no avera, child follows the mother. So far, so good. What about the next set of cases in the Mishnah? Next category is yes KIDDUSHIN, yes avera. So again, we have kol makim and ezoizu. So kol makim the seifa, the inclusive lashon kol makim, lasuya gerish nasam hamzeres. We need to find another example of yes KIDDUSHIN and yes avera. So going to Rabbi Yehuda, ger may not marry mamzeres. So there is KIDDUSHIN chal, but it's an avera. So the child follows the pogam, becomes a mamzer. So everything works out perfectly. We explained the kol makims and why it says ezoizu. But if we go the other track, the other option, Mishnah follows Rabbi Yossi, that a ger may marry a mamzeres. Yesh KIDDUSHIN, v'yesh avera. Eli amris Rabbi Yossi. So let's go down the list and see if it fits. All the kol makims and the ezoizus. Kol makim the reisha kedamara. Kol makim at the outset of category number 1. Yes KIDDUSHIN, no avera. Child follows the father. Kol makim the reisha kedamara. That's the case of the Yisrael marrying a halala, perfectly fine. Child is perfectly Yisrael, no psul. The words ezoizu at the end of that first category, kedamaran. So once again, it's going to exclude the cases that we mentioned. For instance, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's going to exclude ger who married a mamzeres, who really belongs in category number 1. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's mutter, and still it doesn't have the same formula, the same parameter. The child is now a mamzer. Or the others that we mentioned before, Rav and Rav Dimi, cases where it's mutter and still the child follows the mother. Okay, that works. Now let's move on to category number 2 of the Mishnah. Yes KIDDUSHIN, yes avera. The Mishnah gives us some examples, but it begins with the word kol makim. What other case belongs there that was not mentioned? So according to Rabbi Yehuda, we have found a case. Yisrael de mamzeres, who's aser, and it wasn't mentioned in the Mishnah. So kol makim includes that. According to Rabbi Yossi, there's nothing left to include. Well, says the Gemara. Good point, but let's go back a second. Thu May, according to you, Rabbi Yehuda, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're going to have a kasha. Ezoizu de seifa lamli. Why does the Mishnah use the words ezoizu at the seifa, meaning at the end of the second category of the Mishnah? There's nothing to exclude there. That's an extra, unnecessary expression. Oh, so you must say that the Mishnah is simply going to use symmetrical language, matching language. Ella, I did Tana reisha ezoizu. Since the Mishnah used this expression on the first category, because there was a purpose for it there. Tana Seifa, Izaizu, Mishnah likewise matched up the Seifa and used the same language. Hachanabi. So you know what? In similar fashion, we can answer Rabbi Yesi. I did the Tana Reisha Kol Makim on account of the Lashon Kol Makim. In the Reisha, which we explained, its purpose, Tana Nami Seifa Kol Makim. Likewise, he used the Lashon Kol Makim at the beginning of category number 2, even though there's no real purpose for it. But we're just using symmetrical matching language. Okay, so bottom line, Mishnah gave us 4 categories. Category number 1, yes Kiddushin, no Avera. In this case, a child follows a Zachar. We have Kol Makim to include cases. We have Eizu to say, 1 second. There are others that do fit here, that should fit in, but don't. Have a different effect. Category number 2 of the Mishnah, yes Kiddushin, yes Avera. Child follows the Pogam. Again, we start with Kol Makim, we end with Eizu. Category number 3, these are the Arayis. She has potential for Kiddushin with other people. In this case, the Vlad is a Mamzer. Category number 4, Shif Chavanachers, no possibility of Kiddushin. In this case, child identifies strictly with the mother. And we explained which cases the Mishnah had in mind to include and exclude. Gufa, let's go back to the halacha we just recently learned. Kiyasa Ravin, Rabbi Yehuda, Bu'umois Halech Achar Zochar. If there is a match between 2 nations, child identifies with the Zachar, with the father. This Gairu, if they have converted, Halech Achar Pogam Shebeshnein, the child identifies with the Pogam, with the most deficient of his 2 parents. My Bu'umois Halech Achar Zochar. What does this mean? Well, what's it? What are we talking about? If they're not Nisgayer, who cares? Like, we're not dealing with Goyim here. The answer is like this. KIDDUSHIN, we're speaking about very specific nations here. KIDDUSHIN, minayin le'echad min ha'ummos shebo ala knanis. So what happens if a fellow of another nation out there, meaning a nation other than the Zayin Ummos, 7 nations that occupied Eretz Yisrael, on which the pasuk warns us, banish them, lo yiseh chaya kol neshama. So what happens if one of those out there came into Eretz Canaan, interacted with a Canaanist, and had a child, v'hoilid ben, shata rasha l'knose be'evet. You can keep this child, keep him as an evet. There's no din lo yiseh chaya. You don't have to, kill him out. Why? Because he identifies with his father, who's not a Canaanite. How do we know? Talmud Loimar. V'gam b'bnei atoshav magar mitchem imchem mehem tiknu. That even if there is a mix between a foreigner and a local woman, so they have the child here, and they're living here, because the father came here to live with the Canaanites, the child is perfectly fine, you can buy him as an evet. But only because his father does not hail from the 7 local nations. But not the other way around. What if a local evet, meaning a local Kanani? Rashi says, by the way, that the Lashon Kanani relates to all these 7 nations of Eretz Yisrael. They're called Canaan because the land is called Eretz Canaan. So bottom line, a local fellow went out and found a woman from a different nation. Shabala Shifcha min Ummos, v'hoiled ben. Some take out the word Shifcha. He married a member of the other nations out there. V'hoiled ben, they had a son. What about this case? His father is a local fellow. Shata Rashi l'knose be'evet. Perhaps I can buy this child as an evet. Talmud Loimar, no. Asher hilidu ba'artzachem. It doesn't go that way. Asher hilidu ba'artzachem tells you only min niladim ba'artzachem. Only speaking about a foreigner who came locally and they had a child locally. This child is fine to be purchased as an evet, as opposed to a child born to a foreign woman and a local man, a Canaanite man, that child now came back to live with his father in Eretz Canaan. That's a local fellow. He identifies with his father, a Canaanite. Like Sechaya Kol Neshama, you cannot keep him alive. That's the first part of Rabbi Yechon's halacha. Bu'umois halech achar zachar. With respect to this question, of Umais. Which nation do I identify him with? And we're speaking about this sort of mix. A Knani with a foreigner. It all depends on the father. And Rabbi Yehuda continues, Nizgairu halech achar hapagam shebeshnei. In the case of Gerus, the child follows the pagam. What's going on? B'mai, what are we talking about? So Rashi explains that this part of Rabbi Yehuda's statement must relate to a question relating to Amoini and a Mitzri. A ger from Ammon, a ger from Mitzrayim. Because there's a big difference between the two. A ger from Ammon is usher forever, all his descendants. But it only applies to males. Amoini, v'lo Amoinis, right? We know that Ammon and Moav only Yisurim on the men. David HaMelech comes from Moavis, right? So men are usher al-Elam, but only the men, not the women. In contrast to the Mitzrim, over there it's only until the third generation. Men and a woman are equal. So let's say there's sort of a mix between the two. It was a Gerus, and there's a child. Rabbi Yehuda says the child identifies with the pogum amongst his parents. But what exactly we speak? What's the case? So both parents are pogumim. There's something wrong with both of them. The child follows the more pogum amongst his parents. So what are we speaking? A Zachar Ger Mitzri married a woman, a Ger from Ammon. So the whole be now that the child identifies with the more deficient one amongst his parents, the more inferior one, which is his father, because the father is an Ammoni. Sorry, the father is a Mitzri, right? So he's going to identify with his father, the Mitzri. It's going to be Asr until Dair Shlishi, rather than identify with his mother, who's an Amaynis, who's really Mutter. Is that what he meant to say? Well, that doesn't work. My Pogam Ika. We're going with a case where they're both Pogam, and we're saying, well, you follow the more Pogam of the two. Well, if his mother is an Amaynis, my Pogam Ika, there's nothing wrong with her whatsoever. Amayni, the Pasuk says you can't marry a male Amayni. Well, Ammon, nothing wrong with a woman from Ammon. So that's not the case. They're both pogum, and the child follows the more pogum of the two. What's that? Elba Ammoni shenosa mitzvahs. The other way around. He's an Ammoni, she's a mitzvahs. They have a child. So the child now will get the raw deal. He'll get the worst of both. Zachar Havi. The child now is a Zachar. Hi Shadia Basrei Didei. So he's going to identify with whom? With the father. If the child is a Zachar, Shadia Basrei Didei. He'll connect with his father. And since an Ammoni is always Asr, he'll also be Asr, which is worse than identifying with his mother, or the Mitzris, who's only Asr until 3 generations. No, he's going to identify with his father. Even the Keva Havya. On the other end, if they have a girl, so by identifying with the father, she'll be okay because she's an Ammonis. No, Shadia Basar Dida, we connect it to the mother, in which case she's Asr until Der Shlishi. Right? So they always get the more pugum of the couple. Okay, now we have the third category of the Mishnah. Kol she'ein lo of KIDDUSHIN. You have a relative, child is a mamzer. How do we know that a KIDDUSHIN is not going to take effect with a relative? And Rashi explains, once we know that, once we'll establish that there's no KIDDUSHIN possible, then of course there's a mamzer going to be generated, because that's sort of connected. No KIDDUSHIN equals yes mamzer. But how do we know there's no KIDDUSHIN? Answers the Gemara. The Amar Rabbi Chia, Bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Umatba, some had a different version. They said it was somebody else who said it, Mishra Rabbi Yanai. Now, for Rav Acha Brei Rava, he had a different version. Mataba Mishra Rabbi Yaglili. He quoted this in the name of Rabbi Yaglili. Bottom line is, what's the source? Amakro. You divorce a woman, she leaves husband number one, and she goes marries husband number two, an acher, a stranger. Only a stranger, you can't marry a relative. It doesn't work. Okay, but which relative? Perhaps we're going to exclude the closest relative possible, a son, her husband's son. But not another relative. Well, ben behed yiksibbe. You don't need to speak about his son. We have a pasuk, a clear pasuk for that. Loikach ishes eshes aviv. Loikach means you don't have the option of likuchen, of kiddushin, in your father's wife. So you don't need another pasuk for that. So why then does the pasuk say Ocha leish acher, to exclude relatives? Acher lamali, what's that for? Shmamino lacher, and for other relatives. V'loy lekreiv. Ve'me'idi v'idi leben. Maybe both psukim. Leikach ish ishes of and v'ocha leish acher, which excludes the relatives. Maybe they're both going on the son. Halachat chila. One pasuk is saying you're not allowed to marry her. But the other one saying it doesn't even work. But again, maybe it's only limited to son. Well, lechatchila machos isha nafka. That wouldn't be necessary, because we know from the pasuk by Achos Isha it says, Isha la'chosa le'sikach, one may not marry his wife's sister. It says le'sikach, telling you that you cannot do kiddushin by a wife's sister. L'chatchila machos isha nafka. So that part we know from there, and from there we're going to learn to other arayos as well. You cannot do kiddushin. How? Umachos isha b'karis. If even the Achos Isha, where the penalty is Kares min Hashemayim, you shouldn't do Kiddushin. Certainly a son with his father's wife, Chayav Misas Bezin, that's a skila. Coming through Bezin, that's even more severe of a punishment, which is tended to by the Bezin. L'koshkin, of course. The same halacha applies. He's not allowed to approach her and do Kiddushin. So bottom line, we wouldn't need two psukim by the son. One is that he shouldn't do the Kiddushin, one is that it doesn't work. That he shouldn't do Kiddushin, that we learn from Achos Isha. Well, it says the Gemara, maybe both psukim are going on the Achos Isha. Basically, the pasuk which says Isha la'achos le'sikach is going on Achos Isha. And likewise, the pasuk of Ayatza v'hocha lish acher, there's no Kiddushin by relatives, both going specifically on Achos Isha. Halachat chila diavad. One is to say don't do it, one is to say it doesn't work. But maybe only by Achos Isha, but not by the other ones. Says you're right. But once it was established that Kiddushin is not Tevis by Achos Isha, likewise any other arayos. Ashkan Achos Isha, once we establish Achos Isha, Shara Reyes Minon, what about other relatives? Yeah, Alfina Achos Isha, we have a Mamotzinu, we sort of compare everything to Achos Isha. Ma Achos Isha miyuchedes. What's unique about the Achos Isha? She erva, she's a relative, Vachayav Nalzen a curse. Ashur Gasa Chatas, any physical interaction with her generates a curse if it was done purposely, or a Chatas inadvertently. Ve'loit Hafsiba Kiddushin. And we've just established that Kiddushin does not take effect by the Achos Isha. Same thing with other relatives, Avkal Shi Erva, that conforms to the same criteria. Chayav Nalzen a curse. Ashur Gasa Chatas, Letasiba Kiddushin. Okay. Bishlam Mikula Asyan. So now we've established that this rule applies to all arayos. We have two possible exceptions. Ella, Eishes Ish, Veishes Ach. What about a married woman? What about one's brother's wife? Perhaps those are different. Ikal Mifrach. We can differentiate between them and other arayos. Why? Malach is Isha, Shekein la Ein la Hetev Moka Mitzvah. A sister-in-law, a wife's sister, there's never a green light there. What about a brother's wife? Very different. She can be a yavam. There's potential heter there. In a mitzvah setting, there is a mitzvah, there's a heter there. So perhaps she's lighter than the other arayos. With respect to tfisas kiddushin. Likewise, a married woman, ordinary married woman. There's room to differentiate between herself and other arayos. Why? You know what's wrong with other arayos? There's never a green light during the lifetime of the husband who's making her usher on the relative. Not the husband, but whatever the reason why the relative is usher, the person that she's usher to is never going to be mutter during his lifetime. Tomer be'ishes ish, as opposed to an ishes ish, who's becoming usher because of her relationship with her husband. He's the one generating the isser, right? There is a heter option, even during the lifetime of this fellow, who's right now currently making her usher. He gives her a get. So there's a leniency there. So perhaps in these two cases, we should not apply the same strictness. Who says Kiddushin cannot be Chal? Ella Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda comes to the rescue. V'yiteimer Rav Huna Yeshua Makro. We have a pasuk at the end of the arayos, which sort of ties them all together. No differentiations. Kol asher yaseh mikol ha'teivos ha'ila v'nichrasu ha'nefashos ha'osis mikerav Amma. Hukshu kol ha'royos kulam lachos isha. By tying them all together, the pasuk is now connecting all the relatives to achos isha, wife's sister. And we say, ma achos isha, u'letasa b'kedushin, just like there's no kedushin there is no kedushin by any relative of kol arayos kulam u'letasa b'kedushin. Yachid says, well, if that's the case, what about a nida, who's an erva? Afilu nida nabi. So a person is mekadosh a nida. Kedushin shouldn't be teifes, because nida is also mentioned in that parish of the arayos. Allah Amar Abai. So why does Abai tell us otherwise? How kol moedim all agree baval anida b'la soita sheina vlad mamzer. If one interacts with a nida, child is not a mamzer, and that's the biggest raya, biggest indication that kedushin can take effect. Because if there is no kedushin, there is mamzer. B'la soita as well. A person's married to a woman who apparently strayed. She's also to him. He stays married with her. Stays on with her. That child's not a mamzer. Why are these different? Amar Chizki Amakro, the pasuk says like this. Utihini dasa alav. That's the pasuk by Nida, which tells you afilu b'shas nidasa teheba havaya. Utihi nidasa alav. Havaya, becoming one, kiddushin, can apply theoretically even to a Nida. That's regarding the Nida, so we have a special exception there. And by Saita, Rashi says, well, obviously, the kiddushin still takes effect because he's still married to her. We don't find that she's automatically unmarried when she becomes a Saita. So apparently Kiddushin is still applicable and still relevant, even by the Saita. Okay, we'll continue B'ez Hashem tomorrow. But bottom line is we found the pasuk, Rabbi Yehuda's Hekesh, not just Achos Isha can't have Kiddushin, but it applies to all other arayos as well. Okay, let's summarize today's daf. We had a Mishnah with 4 categories. Number 1, yes Kiddushin, no Avera, child follows the father. Yes Kiddushin, yes Avera, child follows the Pogam. She has Kiddushin with others, not with him, like an Erva, child's a Mamzer. No Kiddushin with anybody, like a Nachras or Shifcha, child follows the mother. We had some cases which were not mentioned in the Mishnah. We have some exceptions as well, and they're all included in the Lashonas of Kol Mokem and Ezeizu. We discussed Rabbi Yechon's halacha with the Umais, and concluded with the Raya that there is no Kiddushin, and likewise there is a Mamzer by generally by the Arayas, except for Nida and Soita, as we just mentioned. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.